Hey guys, Morgan's Maintenance. Today's tool review is going to be on the final Knipex product, at least the final Knipex product as far as the ones they sent me in the mail several weeks ago. They sent me the Swedish pipe wrench, also the 7 1/4 step cuts. I have reviews for both of those, so if you haven't seen those, you might want to check that out. But today we're going to be talking about these, the compact bolt cutters, and the part number on this specific model is 7131200. Now they have different variations, whether it's length, whether it's handle type, head type. They have angled heads, notch blades, non-notch blades, all sorts of different models out there. So you just kind of have to decide which one would be best for me, which one would be best for whatever it is, the task that I'm going to use them for the most. But I'm going to show you the features of this tool. I'm also going to put it into action, cut some things that I have laying around the garage. Obviously they will cut more than what I have here, but surely, hopefully within the end of this video, you'll be able to say to yourself, well, I would probably use these to cut this that I use every day. And basically, if he cut that with that, then it will for sure cut whatever it is I'm wanting to cut. That's my goal with that, because again, I can't just sit around and cut everything. I don't have everything. But then also, I'm going to share with you the main thing that I use these for, because some of the things that this will cut, I have other tools, whether it's Knipex or some other brand, you know, that may cut wire or something else, certain size bolts, certain size screws. I have other tools that might actually cut, even though these will cut those, it might cut those better. So I don't use these tools for that specific thing, but there are instances where this particular tool comes in handy for me, and I'm going to share with you the main thing that I have been using these for since I got them in the mail, and maybe that's something that would be useful to you. But let's go ahead and dig into it. Let's get into the features of this tool, put it into use, and then I'll share with you that reason. So first glance at the tool, again, this one has the dipped handles. I know they have comfort grip. I don't know if they have others. I really like the dipped handles. That's a personal preference. I know several people really like the comfort. And again, the 200 means that these are around 8 inches. That's their measurements. So, but as far as from the very tip of the head to the end of the handle, you're looking at right at 8 inches on these. So that's why they're called the compact bolt cutters. One other feature of this one is that it has this notch blade up here. You can kind of see the daylight coming through as I get close right there. And what that allows is it's just a little more clearance for you to get a thicker item in there, to be able to get more leverage. Now, sometimes that causes it maybe not to cut 100% through that item, but it cuts really close. It may not just pop off. You might have to just basically pull the end off of whatever it is that you cut. Again, that just depends on what you cut. And then the only other feature, again, there's not a lot to these. It's a handle and it's a small version of a bolt cutter. There is also, hopefully I can get in there to get this on camera. I don't know. You can see the little indentions there, or the kind of serrated edge there, little teeth almost. They're not real sharp or anything like that, but they're little ridges. And what they say that that is for is so that if you have some wire or something like that, it gives you a place to basically grip onto that wire, so you can pull wire and that will hold on to that. So I would probably use this for wire if I had it or something like that. Maybe someone who does fencing, you could pull on some fencing that way. It just basically gives you some kind of teeth to grab a hold of whatever it is, to pull that tight, to be able to get the slack out of whatever it is before you make a cut. So again, I think that's a nice feature. It's there. You could probably also use that maybe to smash something. They will close all the way if you put enough leverage on your handles. So maybe to, you know, make a loop and then end up closing it up on your fence or something like that. That would be in handy. But you guys let me know if you have these, what you use that for in the comments below. I think that'd be interesting to know what everybody uses that function for. But again, that's all the functions of it. Not a lot of things to discuss. It's a hand tool that has a specific purpose, and we'll find out if it does that job extremely well, because what they basically say is that it will cut bolts, nails, rivets, all those things from 0 to 5.2 millimeters. I think I converted that right. That's somewhere around 13/64 as far as fractional inches. So anything within that range, you're able to cut those with this up here. But I'm going to show you some of the things that I have laying around here that it will cut, and then we'll get into, again, the main reason why I use these. So again, they say these will cut bolts, nails, rivets, etc. Anything basically under that 1/4 inch range, as long as it will fit in here, it should cut it. Again, cut at your own risk, whether it's wiring, whatever. You know, you might damage your edges if you cut something that you shouldn't cut with it. But as far as like nails, something like a framing nail here that comes out of a nail gun, you know, so if you had something where you just need to clip that off because it's sticking out, it cuts through these extremely easy. Not a lot of effort. And again, you're looking at an 8-inch tool here to be able to do some of these things I'm doing. That's the main thing for you to look at with that. You get into, if you get it down there in that notch even, it cuts it all the way through and kind of doesn't shoot it off because you got that little bit of an opening that saves it from pinching so tight and just shooting all over the place. So nails, no problem at all. Now you get into a number 8 and a number 6 machine screw. I'm not going to cut those with this. I'm going to step it up and go to that next size, which is a number 10 here. You can see that. So it will cut through a number 10. Fits in there easy. I have no problem getting that inside of that opening. Again, it's very lightly a squeeze. I'm not having to do a whole lot of work right there. No problem with that. Now, if I get into this 1/4 inch, which you can see here, that's what size this one is. I can't really fit it in there very well. You can even see where I kind of was attempting it earlier. I can get it in there, but my handles are so spread apart that I can't really get really good leverage. It probably will cut this if I take both hands and I squeeze hard enough. It will eventually probably cut through it, but I would say that's pressing it a little bit too hard. I wouldn't want to do that over and over again. That's not the tool for these. Maybe you step up to the 10-inch, maybe it opens up a little wider. You'd have to check the sizes on that. So if a 1/4 inch and above is something that you're going to deal with very often, I would not recommend going with this size. Again, maybe you can go up. Here's a Tapcon, extremely hard screw, concrete anchor. You can put that in there. You can get into it. It cuts off screws very easily. Here's a cabinet screw. You can cut that off as well. I'm going to show you this in a minute, actually, because this is kind of how I put things into practice. Here's a framing screw. Cuts through that very simply as well. 10 gauge wire, electrical wire. You can cut that. Not a problem. You can continue to just go through those. But again, I wouldn't necessarily use this tool for this, but that's because I've got several other tools that will cut wire and cut it better because it's actually intended to cut electrical wire. But maybe you're a person who doesn't do a lot of electrical work and you don't have a lot of the tools to cut electrical wire, but occasionally you might need to cut a wire, but you cut fencing all the time. This might be the tool that you want to get. And then the few instances that you have where you need to cut some wire, you could get these tools out and do that. Again, you can see that's where I got it all the way down in that open notch. I cut through it, but it didn't really go all the way through just because of the nature of this being stranded wire. There's a strand there that's kind of holding on for dear life. So you'd have to make sure you hold that out here towards this edge a little bit and cut it, and then it will cut all the way through. Now, one thing that I do use these a lot for, and I have been, is ceiling grid wire that you hang all your grid from. I actually thought I had some here, but I didn't. But it's very similar to that of this bucket handle. This bucket handle might be a little bit stiffer than what it is. Very similar in size though. And I mean, it just cuts through this very easily. Not a lot of problems going through that as well. So this is kind of the type of wire that maybe you would see some kind of a fence made out of, or ceiling grid wire. It's not exactly the same thing, but it gives you an idea. Again, it cuts through this kind of stuff very easily. No problem at all doing that. And again, it's very useful. So again, framing screws, nails, Tapcons, electrical wire, this type of wire, fencing wire. I think I even saw them cutting in the picture springs, floral people using it to cut the flower stems and things like that on the fake flowers. Anything that will basically fit in here that I put in here that's under a 1/4 inch, it's been cutting through it fairly well. But now let me show you the main thing for what I have been using them for, because again, I could cut these number 6 and number 8 screws with these, and if I had these on me and for some reason I needed to cut these, I would use that. But my forged wire strippers do so well at cutting these screws, and again, I have a review for these as well, but you just basically put these in here, close that, and it cuts. I mean, it's the same thing. And normally whenever I'm using these, I'm using them in an electrical application, so I'm going to have these on me anyways. And I think that these actually cut these particular screws better than what these do, as far as it gives me this clean edge that I don't have to worry about cleaning up, versus I'm going to pinch that screw with these and cut it off. So I'm not going to have near the clean edge on these that I'm going to have if I was to use the other ones. You can see I got that point right there, so it's not exactly the same. So again, that's why for me, on these kind of screws, if they'll fit in these forged wire strippers, I use those. But if it's a size that won't fit in there, or I'm doing something that's not an electrical application, I don't have that tool on me, these will get the job done. And then as far as cutting wire like this, electrical wire, the same thing. Forged wire strippers work a lot better. The step cuts work a lot better, clean cut, than me trying to use a pair of bolt cutters on some electrical wire. So yes, they'll cut them. If you're not a person who does a lot of electrical work, you don't have these tools, but you do some work that you could use this for and occasionally do electrical work, I just wanted to show you that that would do that, and it works well for that. So one of the main places where I have been using this tool is if I have some screws, whether it be framing screws, cabinet screws, Tapcons, whatever it is. For instance, I had a job recently where I was installing cabinets. The wall was furred out with a 2x4 turned sideways, so I had 1.5 inches worth of framing. That was onto a block wall, and then of course I did have my drywall and the cabinet thickness, so that would get me into that 2-inch range, 2.5-inch range. Well, maybe my screws are 3, and if I was to put that in like this, and I got to that point, this tip would be hitting the block, and it would hold me out, and I only need this screw to be a little bit shorter. Well, yes, I could go to the store, maybe buy some smaller screws, but that's a trip to the store. Maybe I only need like 5 or 6 of these, and I've already purchased these. I don't need to go spend some money on some other ones. I will start out by starting my screw into a hole while I have that tip on it. I will get that started, get that ran in so far, pull that screw back out. Then I will take these cutters and I will basically just cut off whatever it is that I don't need. So let's say I only needed this long of a screw, and I want to take and I will cut off the tip of that screw. Now that my hole is already started, I can take my screw, put that in, and now that screw will not be hitting that block on that back side. So again, whether it's a framing screw, whatever screw it is, that is what I have been using these a lot for. And again, they also do come in handy if you run into a situation and you need to just cut a machine screw down, something like that. But that's more than likely what they're mostly supposed to be used for. But in my line of business, this is what I have found myself grabbing these for. These cut screws off better than anything else I have. Yeah, I can put a ton of torque on some lineman's pliers or something like that and maybe get through one, but the blades and stuff on those linemen's aren't near the same as what these are. I think these are more durable than those, and I think they will end up working better for that in the long run. But again, that's just what I'm using them for. But just to give you an example, I think that's why they're very useful to stay in my bag, because basically I can carry long screws with me. I don't have to carry so many different sizes. And then the few times that I run into a situation where I just need one to be a 1/2 inch shorter, I can easily do that with any screws just by using this tool here. So again, that's my take on the Cobalt Mini Bolt Cutters by Knipex. These are the 8-inch versions. Again, I'll put links in the description, but definitely check out the other models, the angled heads and all those things. One other pair might work better for you. And again, you've got to choose, do you want the comfort grip, the dip grip, 10 inches, 8 inches, all sorts of options out there. But let me know what you think about these. I know several of you out there have a pair of these. Let me know what you use them for. That way people, again, can read the comments and say, well, I actually do this for a living. I wonder how useful they'd be. You might read a comment down there where somebody says, I do fencing for a living. These are a necessity for me. I keep these on my side pouch at all times. I use them all day long, and they work great. Well, that answers your question better than what I can. So hope that this was useful. Hope that you guys stay safe and have a blessed day. I'll see you on the next video.